everybody. I'm Erica Campbell with True Blue Title, and I'm here with Cara Keelin, one of my favorite real estate professionals in the St. Pete, Tampa area. And Cara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Erica. I really appreciate you and the kind words because, it takes one to know one. We're out here rocking it in the real estate world. I am a third generation born and raised St. Petersburg native, and I absolutely love real estate and doing real estate with people in the area. I specialize in all different variables. But right now it seems like I kind of am winning at the getting people under contract game. So like,
Absolutely.
doing pretty good. So especially the first time home buyers and people in the lower price points, which is it's a tough market. I know it's been
Very competitive,
interesting.
right?
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you.
Yeah. So I just wanted to get with you today so that we could talk about the ever-changing market real estate trends. We recently had a huge market shift, so I wanted to have you answer some questions that I have. And as a title insurance representative, it's important that I know agents like you that I can rely on that are rapidly growing. You've had a lot of growth recently. Things have been taking off for you, and I'm so excited. And it's good to lean on somebody like you to ask these questions because I can trust you, knowing that you have, been around and you know the housing market and you can give us some insight to what that looks like right now. So a couple questions I have for you are, well, this is more of a statement, but rates recently spiked from 3% to 6% about in the last 6 months. Do you anticipate them to continue to climb?
So they aren't projecting that it's going to go too much higher than 6%. And we're seeing a fluctuation between mid fives to high fives almost on a daily basis at this point. But the thing that we need to keep in mind is everybody's freaking out because it's going up. It's not this, 1.5%, 2% interest rate. That was an insanely low interest rate, right? So that couldn't have been sustainable. That was people were struggling because, they dropped the interest rates in an effect to try to keep up with people not being able, being out of work and still being able to afford to live. But on average, interest rates are between 5.5% to 6.5% on the year over year average prior to the pandemic. So seeing that we're coming up closer to a 6% interest rate is freaking us all out because we've seen these really amazing interest rates for so long. But the reality is if you looked at the trends from 8-10 years ago, people were paying 12% interest, sometimes 18%. So the fact that we're getting up to this interest rate, it looks like it's going to level off, somewhere. They don't project. I mean, of course it changes, minute to minute, but with inflation being what it is, the real estate market is probably one of the safest places to be as far as your investments. And don't get me wrong, like even a person buying their first home, that's an investment. That's something that they're doing to build on. Right. And that's one of the things that I work with all of my clients is about, building that wealth path through real estate ownership. But, to answer your question, I don't foresee, I do watch a lot of market trends. I read a lot of, blogs. I'm connected with the Fed. I have a lot of great mortgage partners that make sure that I'm informed. And, we don't see it creeping up too much higher than 6% before the end of the year. But we did see a huge rate increase from October to April. It was literally almost 3 points in that whole time. It was so fast. It was so fast. And we were all kind of like, oh my gosh, it kind of came out of nowhere. But really, when you follow the market trends, we're just trying to get back to a sustainable market. So that's kind of where we're at, because 1% and 2% interest rates isn't sustainable for the mortgage companies. It's it's just the reality is that they can't really function on maintaining multi-billion-dollar companies, on low interest rates. That's where they make their money. So yeah.
Awesome. Great answers. Yeah, and I love how you mentioned that it's not about investors, right? It's like investing in yourself and your future, your family's future, not paying these high rents anymore, and paying towards something that you and your family can live and function and have a normal life, and not be paying your money to nowhere, throwing it in the trash.
Right. Well, it's different when you're paying someone else's mortgage, right? Because you're paying their bills and they're, making money off of you, as opposed to looking at your mortgage payments being more like, you're putting it into a savings account, right? Every month you're paying towards something that you can eventually get that equity back out of. You get those payments back out of that. When you're paying rent, you're not. You're just literally giving, someone else money to do with what they want. You're increasing their investment portfolio. Right. And, and we can get into that. I could talk about that for hours, but the market shift that we're seeing that you kind of mentioned before is, there's a huge jump into real estate from the investment standpoint, right? So from investors, people that are looking to grow portfolios, because it is the safest investment. So they're looking, but that also creates a lot of difficulty with getting people under contract, which we kind of mentioned, when you were introducing me earlier. So, the market shift is still competitive. It is still competitive because the investors have raised their price points. They are, throwing extremely competitive offers, cash offers. We are still seeing a lot of cash offers. I would say 3 out of my 4 listings recently were purchased cash. Yeah. One was by an investor because that was something that just worked for that client. That's, it's ultimately up to the seller and what they want, to choose. We just give them the best advice we can, even though we're like, okay, somebody could use this house, but you still have to ultimately, I'm a fiduciary for my clients. I'm the person, just like a lawyer would represent you going into a court case. I'm the representative that goes into working this deal for someone who is, and it's important to have good partners. So much like my title partner, True Blue Title, it's really important to have those people to rely on, because when you have a good team, then it makes the process better for your clients, especially when we're in a market that is so difficult to get under contract. Now, with that being said, we have seen a huge increase in inventory over the last, year, right? So as we look into market trends and things like that, we had some insane increases over the last year. We're looking at 20 and 30% in some places increase. And that actually happened in that same 6-month period that we started seeing, these interest rate spikes. So we started seeing that the median price of homes in our area. Now, I mentioned before, I'm born and raised here. So my dad literally paid like $17,000 for the house that he lives in currently, which is insane. And everybody thought that that was crazy to be buying a house at that price at that time. Right. And then when we started seeing the shift and increase in, all the different things, right? So cars, if you think about like 6 years ago, 10 years ago, right? Cars, you could buy a car around 12, 13,000. Now the average price point is $30,000 for a new car. Yeah. That's an average price point. Like that's not, so when we take that into account and you look at how that stacks up against real estate, you're going to keep seeing those trends are going to keep going up. The good news is the one thing that we're seeing pretty frequently right now is that the prices of the homes are starting to stabilize. They're not going down. We're not going to see a drop. We're not going to see, we're not going to see, oh my goodness, people are losing equity or anything like that. No, what we're seeing is that it's kind of stabilizing. Our days on market, 45 days ago, days on market were literally hours. I mean, It was literally, I had a listing go up. It was the minute I hit submit into the MLS, I got a phone call. I don't know if that person had a bot or whatever it was, but I definitely felt like I was off my real estate game because my phone rang the minute I hit submit. And, whereas now listings are staying on market for 2, 3, 4 weeks, which is still incredibly crazy. Like that absorption rate is still an insane absorption rate. But now people are feeling like it's starting to cool off because you have 3 to 4 weeks that it's going to stay on market. It's still going fast. I mean, we're seeing luxury properties, which typically in our area prior to probably March of 2021, they'd be on market for 6 months to a year, luxury properties. And we were talking luxury price point for us was 750,000 plus at that point in time, right? Now the luxury price point has moved up to 1.2. And, and even still, when you compare it to metropolitan communities, we're still below average for waterfront property. Most of the areas that are comparable to ours are double-digit millions, for waterfront properties. We have 6 in our area that are double-digit millions, so it's still affordable in that regard comparably. But to us that have grown up here, lived here, see this, we're like, oh my God, what is happening?
It's a little shocking, right?
It is kind of shocking. One of the biggest shocks when I was getting ready for this interview was looking at the market stats for Pasco. Now that includes Wesley Chapel, which is a beautiful, gorgeous, booming area. But the average price point was over 400,000 for average. That's the median price point for homes in Pasco.
That is shocking.
In Pasco, so which is, is so close to where we are. And, but it just shows you where the shift is moving, right?
Right.
In Pinellas County in particular, there's no room to build. There's nothing left. We've built everywhere we possibly can. So now they're ripping down houses and putting up McMansions and different things of that nature.
Land is gold over there.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is, because we've got water on 3 sides. So what's north of us? Pasco. So it makes sense that the market is moving in that direction. And the funny thing is if you had asked me 4 months ago, what is the average price point for Pinellas? I would have said, 300,000. Now the average price point is probably creeping up closer to 500, 550.
Okay.
Which is absolutely crazy. Now you can still find properties. I mean, this is the average, right? This is the piece that's in the middle. So there's still properties that are under 300,000. There are only a few. But there are properties, that are at that price point, and but there's just not many here. Now, Tampa has some really great properties, and Tampa, the expansion, Tampa, Hillsborough, down into Manatee, which I would say probably north of Bradenton, Sarasota, on the south side, maybe northeast, I guess that would be. You can still find some pretty good affordable homes. And I say the word affordable loosely, but you can find homes that are around 200,000 or less. Not many, but they're out there. But you can definitely find plenty of single family homes under the 300,000 mark in those areas. And so I find myself working a lot of Hillsborough, Manatee, and some areas of Pasco for that first time home buyer. And, it's the nature of the increase, right, of the area. So St. Pete, Tampa has been kind of this best kept secret of Florida for so long. The secret got out.
I know. And I'm even seeing, people doing these price cuts and things like that on their homes. What do you think about, do you recommend to any of your sellers right now that they lower listing prices on their home to sell their home faster because of the price drops that you're seeing a little bit here and there. Like they're just little bits of cuts here and there. They're not dramatically huge, but just to kind of worry about the competition, with these cash buyers. What's your
Right.
recommendation?
So doing a price drop is a strategic listing. It's a strategy, right? However, I have to tell you that in the MLS this morning, when I took a look, there was actually more price increases than there were price decreases today. And that's today, that can be different. Everything shifts day to day. Everything's about a strategy. So people are panicking, like I mentioned before, because things are not hours on market. They're now days on market. We're still not months on market. We still haven't reached that point. And once we start seeing months on market and our absorption rate starts changing to anything past, a 60-day absorption rate, it's going to start shifting towards a buyer's market. Mm-hmm. The problem is that we were so upside down in our buyer's market. There were so many buyers. I mean, literally 50, 60, contracts coming in for listings. When you're talking.
So really quick, can you explain buyer's market and seller's market for some of the people that might not know the difference, and what market are we in right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are still in a seller's market, which just means that when you have a seller's market, the sellers have a lot more choice. There's more buyers out there looking than houses available, right? Mm-hmm. So when you have multiple offer situations and things like that, the seller has the choice. Basically, it's the seller's choice. When you are then saturated with sellers in the market, which we use, days on market as a way to determine what kind of market we're in. Mm-hmm. But, when you're in a buyer's market, there's too many sellers and not enough buyers. Gotcha. And, and that's where these, where inflation comes into play and interest rates come into play, because I have had some buyers that were literally priced out of the market. We had to pivot and move to get them under contract, which we were able to do.
And what are your secrets for that? Do you have any good secrets?
So absolutely. So, and because I try to share this with as many people as I can, because obviously my heart is in the first time home buyer. I mean, everybody loves to have, the investor or the, but, I love, there's just nothing quite as satisfying as, winning a multiple offer situation for someone who it's going to be their first home, or they're bringing their family into home, even if they're, upgrading, just, different things, people working the path. But, there are a lot of options of things out there that people don't know. There are programs that will make a cash offer for you for a fee. I mean, it's a pricey fee, but if you're going to end up paying more for that property anyway, you're just paying it to a different person rather than the seller, or, that kind of thing. So you're still going to be doing those kind of things. But it makes you a cash offer. You can make a cash offer. If your financing falls through, I have several lenders and other programs that I use, that if you get priced out because the interest rates went up and now your debt to income ratio is too high and you don't qualify, and your debt to income ratio is just showing what your debts are versus how much money is coming in. Mm-hmm. And so, I do have people that if you've qualified and, they'll buy the home, they'll pay cash, they'll rent it back to you. And then we work on a plan, similar to a business plan that I do with my clients, to, increase that income. There's lots of ways to pivot. Sometimes it's just going to your boss and saying, I need a raise. And sometimes it's, all right, I've got to Uber 2 nights a week to make X amount of dollars. Some people have, desires to start their own business. Some sell jewelry. I have lots of people that sell $5 jewelry, and make a decent enough income to make their mortgage. And then once they qualify for that, then, we're able to get them back into purchasing that property. So, which they've already picked the property, they're already living in the property. Then we're just working the deal on the back end. And so again, that's where those teams come into play, because it's really, really, really critical to, make sure that you have a lot of good, strong affiliates working with you, mortgage brokers, title people, insurance, all of those things, inspection companies. And it's really important to have a good team. And I have some of the greatest teams, that in the area. And
I can testify to that, because I got to meet Cara at one of our pitch sessions, and she attends every week, and she, is surrounded by such a strong group of people in the real estate industry. Yeah. And I've just seen some magic happen over there. So I can testify to that.
It's awesome. Yeah. I will be a pitch attendee for the rest of my career, because not only is it good people, and not only is it increasing my knowledge base to make me the best agent that I can be, but it's also those connections, right? Because the people that are willing to put the work in are the people that are willing to put the work in.
Right.
So they're the ones that are going to show up when things get tough. And, and we're just so blessed to have such great groups of individuals out here really for their clients, not just, out for themselves and the paycheck, just really here to support that. But that
actually leads me to another question I had for you, though. What is a really good indicator that, me as a home buyer or me as a seller is going to look out for in a real estate agent? What is a really good indicator, a good cue word or something I might hear from my agent that is going to be able to give me the most faith in my agent possible?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that's worked for me is I got a guy. Because I literally do. If you have an agent that's going to come and present to you, I'm the only person doing anything in this transaction, and it's all about me, that should be a red flag for you. First of all, your agent should be representing you. It should be what you want and what you're looking for. And then the second thing is are they part of a team? That doesn't mean a real estate team. That means, do they have the affiliates to be able to get the job done? Because again, we're in a competitive market. So there's a lot of tips and tricks to get there. And it's not always how many transactions, but keep in mind, the more transactions that your agent has done, the more experienced that they are. So, it doesn't mean they're any less of a good person, that they haven't had as many, maybe they haven't had the opportunity, but the ones that are out there working the transactions are the ones that are knowing how to work the deal for you. The other part I would say is look for confidence, but not someone who is prideful. Confidence and pride are two totally different things. Oh, we're getting the notification. So that would be something else. Someone who is confident is going to work a deal for you and work on your behalf, the best that they can. Someone who is prideful is going to be all about them, not all about you. Because this is a service-based job. I'm coming to you from a place of service. And, and do you need a real estate agent in this market? Absolutely. I mean, and I'm not someone here to toot my own horn and do the whole, 9 yards, but whether it's me or one of the other amazing agents in our area, and there's some really, really incredible ones. But, you want someone who knows the market, knows what's going on, and can answer your questions. And if they don't know the answer, this is another one, right? If they don't know the answers, and they try to tell you some kind of BS or whatever, or they say, I don't know, but let me find out.
Right.
Because I'm not going to know everything that's going on in the market. And so, I work really hard to make sure that I'm as knowledgeable as I can be. I
got a guy for that. Let me get,
exactly.
Go on the phone and say, hey, what's the answer to this question? Help me out.
Yeah, it really is. And that's the thing that people laugh, but my clients absolutely love that, because I literally do have such a strong affiliate support system
Yep.
in place that I can make a phone call and say, I have this question or I have this problem. How can we solve it?
Right.
And the thing that people don't realize is there are so many different nuances and issues that can go wrong in a real estate deal. And that could be a whole other video for us to chat about, because,
Right.
you
That one
know,
could go on for a while.
that one could go on for a while, but it's really about problem solving, right? And so if your agent is not a problem solver, they're probably not going to be working the deal to the best benefit that they possibly can. And, you know, and so keep that in mind as well when you're interviewing agents, and do, you know, take the time to interview agents. I mean, sometimes it clicks right off the bat, you know, of course, anytime you're talking to me, you know, like, you know.
What are some good questions that they, you know, what are some good questions they should be asking their agents when they're interviewing their agent to pick who's going to be the best fit for me?
I would say my top three things would be, how many transactions have you closed? And not necessarily how long have they been an agent, because there's people that have been an agent for 20 years, but they've only closed probably 20 transactions in that 20 years.
Part-time job for them, right?
Right, exactly. And and I don't want to take away from any of those people, because some people can be really good at what they do part-time, you know. However, like I said, the more transactions that you've done, the more you're savvy in the market and able to keep up with it. The other thing I would say is, do you have a team? Do you have affiliates? Do you got a guy? You know, something along those lines. And the other thing I would say is, you know, find someone who you can relate to, because I might not be everybody's cup of tea, you know, and that's something else, because this is literally the biggest purchase of your life. Right. Can you trust this person? Can this person be somebody that you feel like you can trust? Because, you know, it is a very scary thing to spend $500,000 on dirt, you know, with a pretty house on it. You know, I mean, you know, it is very overwhelming, especially if it's your first transaction. You know,
I've joked a lot of times with people that are like, you know, what makes a really good real estate agent in your eyes? And I say, well, do they have rain boots in their trunk of their car? Because if they're going to see a flood zone, you might want to check and make sure they have rain boots. And most of them are going to have rain boots.
Yeah, it's true story. Do they have the toolkit in the trunk in case, you know, you got to tighten up the screw?
For any situation, you never know what they're going to encounter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's, again, being able to pivot and problem solve. So, you know, those are the biggest key factors to choosing a real estate agent. You know, the top thing being trust. Your gut is going to tell you if this person is a match for you. And, you know, if this person is your person. And a lot of times the funny thing is your real estate agent, if they're a good real estate agent, becomes a friend or a family member, you know, like you go through this massively crazy transition through, you know, the 30-day craze of buying a house, which is, it's, again, that's a whole other aspect to get into. What's it really like buying a house, you know? But, you know, but really, you want to have someone that you can trust, that you know, that you like, that you trust, to be your representative, because we work much like lawyers do, you know, and fortunately people like us more than the attorneys, but it is, you know, how do you pick your attorney? You know, you pick your attorney based on someone that feels like they can get the job done well for you, but do you feel better about it when you like them and trust them, you know? So same kind of thing. But I know we're running out of time, so we got about 3.5 minutes left, but
well, thank you so much, Cara. That's Cara with Inspired Nooks, right? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're fine. Inspired Nooks, powered by Realty One Group Sunshine. We're a team located here in Tampa. We work all of West Central Florida. We do occasionally work outside of the area. We have deals going on in Tallahassee and Fort Myers. So, but primarily we work all of West Central Florida, from Orlando to St. Pete, from Sarasota to Spring Hill is pretty much our area. And we have a team of amazing young professionals. And, you know, we just work to create inspiration in your little nook. So
I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to meet with me and allowing me to interview you. I know this will help so many people, and that's what a good agent does. We help people.
thank you.
True Blue Title is happy to help with anything.
Yes.
You know that George, Clemis, and Harold, and Amanda and Tessa are all wonderful people.
They are.
I really
They
enjoy
are.
working with them, and I enjoy working with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's vice versa. And, you know, True Blue Title is amazing. They work really hard to keep us agents well informed too, with the Lunch and Learn class series, and, you know, all of the benefits that you guys provide for us outside of the transaction. You know, it's a great support system to be able to call up and say, okay, I've got these questions about this thing or that thing, and knowing that someone's there to answer my questions when I call. So,
Good to hear.
and of course, I love working with you. And
I do too. It's awesome. We have a fun time.
We do. We really enjoy each other. So thank you for having me. And
Sarah,
until next time. Inspired Next, Cara Keelin, Realtor, 727-342-0794. Or you can reach me at Cara, Cara, at inspirednooks.com. So thank you.
I'm Erica Campbell, True Blue Title. My phone number is 813-503-0514, or erica@truebluetitle.com. Thank you so much, Cara. Have a good night.
Thank you. Night. Bye.